today we've got an external drive from someone we haven't seen an external from in quite a while. That is the Carbon X by Mushkin. If you remember, the last external drive we looked at from Mushkin was actually the Ventura Ultra USB thumb drive size drive that used that fun dual printed circuit board with the SandForce controller and a USB interface on one and like all the NAND sandwiched on the second, screwed together in this big chunky metal shell. So I'm really excited to see what they've done this time because they always get some interesting solutions. So straight off the bat, USB 3.1 Gen 2, portable external SSD, super speed, durable design, says crush resistant. Maybe I should run it over. Overall, fairly straightforward packaging. There's no performance claims on here. It says it's fast. It says it's future proof. Talks about that it's aluminum. It's faster than a standard 3.0 drive, but doesn't give me a number to worry about. And based on the size of the packaging and what it is, I wonder which drive is actually in here. So, and does it say, so this is a 1 terabyte model. Alright, so pretty straightforward. Open the package, and here's our drive, which I'm going to just peel that plastic out and slide that out. That is a lot of aluminum and rubber. Feels like the rubber is just placed on there. Don't have any screws. Excellent. There's screws, so I can open that up and take a look. Looks to be a traditional M.2 in an enclosure. And would you look at that, Mushkin got it right. I got a 3.0 A to C cable, and I got a 3.0 C to C, or sorry, 3.1 C to C cable as well. So this should be a USB-C 10 gig device, which means that it should perform in the same ballpark as the USB-C 10 gig drives we already have, and that would be, well, actually none. We've got a couple of enclosures, but no outright drives. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. If I don't think I picked a tiny enough screwdriver. That's my number 0 Phillips. That's a 00. No, that's a 000. What the hell size are these? They're Phillips. Well, maybe the 000 does fit, and I just didn't give it enough downward force. I guess that is the solution. I think the batteries and my little electric screwdriver might be dead. Or if they're not dead, they are dying. All right. One screw, two screw, and that's plastic. Plastic cover. This just slides out. Well, now that's interesting. So we've got our USB here. On the back, I have an AS Media ASM 2362 interface, and then I've got this aluminum heatsink screwed down, but it's not just like stuck to the drive or held in by a screw. I count 1, 2, 3, 4 points where this thing is screwed in addition to the screw that retains the SSD itself. Yeah, I need to get new batteries for this. Okay, so with that, I reveal a thermal pad and an SM2263ENG controller and some unmarked NAND. Let's see if the NAND on the other side tells me anything. (10-2413-10-NS-A) Made in Mexico, quality control KB05076. Okay, so this is fun. This is where we can see Mushkin did some interesting engineering, and I think I know what controller that is. Or sorry, what drive that is. This looks to be a dead ringer for their Helix L, which is a DRAM-less NVMe drive powered by the 2263 XT, which may have been replaced by the EN. That's typically the nomenclature that Silicon Motion would use. So this is a DRAM-less drive, but what I think is fascinating looking at this drive is that there's a pad here for DRAM, which tells me that at some point in their development or for some other drive, they reuse this same exact PCB with a DRAM chip. Now, I don't think that that's what they use in the Pilot, because the Pilot has a 2262EN, which I believe is larger. Yeah, so the Pilot, the controller is further down on the board, and it has actually additional pads for DRAM. So I don't know what other board shares this, or sorry, what other drive shares this PCB. But this is fascinating because this means I also now have a Helix that I can benchmark in the 1 terabyte capacity. And although I will say there may be performance differences between this drive and a Helix that is sold as a Helix, I would not expect those to be dramatic enough to make such an analysis invalid either. All right, so there we have it. The Mushkin Carbon X, and at first glance, I'm really excited about this drive, partly because I get 2 different products to take a poke at for the packaging of one. This will actually be our first hands-on with a DRAM-less NVMe SSD that has host memory buffer, and I really can't wait to see the difference that has over the USB-C interface. That is actually one of the few places where I think that this drive is... I think it's going to give me some interesting results there, because I don't think host memory buffer works over USB-C. But the interface is also dramatically slower than a PCIe 3.0 Gen 4 link, so the performance impact may actually be none at all. That remains to be seen. This is one of the applications where I've said I wouldn't mind using a DRAM-less drive because I do expect the interface to be a little bit there. I'm really surprised at how overbuilt some of the thermal management here is. Although the one thing that they missed, so you have your drive, and then you have this heatsink, which secures over the drive, and good for them on getting this right. I can see that the pad is just thick enough that there were impressions left by some of the modules on the board, but there's no thermal interface between these two pieces. So this is just a slab of aluminum with an air gap. This is just a slab of aluminum with an air gap and another slab of aluminum. There's nothing that helps encourage heat transfer that way. On the other side, however, they did make sure to use plenty of contact, or plenty of exposed copper here on the printed circuit board. But what they didn't do is include a thermal pad between the PCB and the drive, or between the PCB and this metal shell. Do I think those are necessarily going to be a huge negative here? Not really, but I am going to keep a close eye on its temperatures and the shell's temperatures, and I may do some testing in and outside of the shell to see if there's any difference based on how much fresh air the drive gets. I don't expect it to really matter, considering how simple some of the USB-C SSDs that we've looked at before are on their cooling solutions. This is honestly over-engineered and almost to the same degree as some of the Thunderbolt drives we've looked at. Not quite. One of those had an actual running fan, but not far either. All that said, I do want to thank Mushkin for sending this out, and bonus points for not telling me what drive was in it ahead of time. That's always fun to open up and poke around on our own. I want to thank Electrix, as always, for providing our opening and closing themes. I do want to give a shout out to Harbor Freight. This is their Warrior 19-in-1 electric screwdriver kit that actually did a decent job, but I need to get it some fresh batteries. This has been in the studio for a while, and it has gotten very cold in the studio. And alkaline batteries just don't always do too hot, when they've been exposed to 30 degrees, then 70 degrees, then 30 degrees, then 70 degrees, in addition to being used every other day. So, lastly, I want to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables, either through our Amazon affiliate links or Patreon, or by subscribing. It is support like that that helps make videos like this possible. And finally, thank you for watching.